You guys are good. You guys are good. Yeah, I got it. Got it. Perfect. All right, this is lesson 8, Zero to Hero Power App Saga. We have Leo Russo again with us, and today, get ready to get your minds blown. Leo is gonna show us how to use custom controls in Power Apps. It's a thing that it's at least for me, it's something that I've been looking forward to learn. So Russo, it's on you, buddy. Thank you for lending your time and knowledge to us. Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's a pleasure, Victor, and thanks for having me in this Zero to Hero season. It's really a pleasure. All right, let's start with a bit of PowerPoint to introduce the subject. Okay, so let me share my screen. I hope this time I don't mess up again. All right. Cool. So today's lesson is going to be about working with custom components. And we have to say that this can mean more than one thing. And let's see why. First, let's understand what is this concept of having custom components in Power Apps. Uh, as we know, we have the native objects in Canvas app in which you can rely on to build your application. And those are the most common objects that you need to build any web application or mobile application. But it's possible that you have a special use case where you need more than the basic stuff and you want to go a step further. That's when custom controls uh, comes to the scene, right? This in Canvas app, also in model-driven app, you can use the custom controls to change fields and also play the same role of in Canvas app to give a different experience to fulfill a different requirement that the native stuff doesn't do itself. Okay, so this is the concept of a custom control. And let's discuss the types of custom controls that we have. First, let's divide this into different worlds. So one type is Canvas app components. These are components that you are going to build inside of the Canvas App Studio experience. And we're going to do a hands-on later showing how it's done. And also we have PCF components, and these are built outside Canvas App Studio. These relies more on code, so it's something more to pro developers to work with. But by the end of the day, you know, maybe the citizen developer will be using these PCF components. Okay, right. So summing up, this is a example of a Canvas component was created by a citizen developer. You can share these components into a library in your environment. So this means that other users in your company are going to be able to reuse the component you created, and you can create the inside of Canvas app experience as you were creating any Canvas app. You can export and import from app to app, and you also can use this in custom pages in the model driven experience. Okay, and here is a screenshot of component libraries. So you can also create these libraries to have several components on your environment and share with your colleagues, so they can reuse what you built. And this is going to help to maintain the level of quality, of scalability, of identity of the visual identity of the company, and other benefits. Okay, so this is the concept of libraries. And also we have the PCF components. Those are the ones that are not going to be built inside Power Apps Studio. They are going to be a little bit more complex as they rely on developing using code such as HTML, CSS, TypeScript, and other things. I I've noticed that Cheryl is on the call. I just want to say I'm a big fan of you, and I read your blog about PCF. So it will be a pleasure if you want to add anything to this topic. All right, and one interesting point is that you can use PCF in Canvas app and also in module-driven apps, but they are going to be made for aiming Canvas apps or aiming module-driven apps, as they are different experience. Okay. Right. So I think that's enough to start to make a basic introduction. And the next steps now to show with a hands-on how these things will be applied in a day-to-day of a citizen developer and organization. So let me finish this presentation and start a new one, the other screen. Okay. Uh, I'm going to share this link with you guys. So I developed this material for this lesson, and we have step-by-step instructions here in case you want to try this lesson later, or if you miss something and you want to go back, you can follow this documentation right here. I'll just paste the link in the chat. Okay. There is the link, and let me know if it's working or not. And we are starting, okay? So, okay, let's start by this point. We are going to create a very basic custom component in the Canvas app experience. So here's the step-by-step that you need to follow, and I will show on the screen. Feel free to check that. Okay, so let's go back to Canvas App Studio. And here in the left hand side, we have this screen tab, and we have also this component tab, right? So when we say Canvas app component, we mean this thing right here. This is the place where we can create a new component inside of the app experience itself, and just start to reusing from there. Okay, so let's understand how that happens. I'm going to create a new component right here. So as you can see, it's going to show a blank screen, which is a very similar experience of building things in the screen itself. And from here, we can start to build the components that we want to reuse. Okay, so let's start with a very basic one, this smile right here. So what I'm going to do, let's insert a text label right here. Let's make it fulfill all the space available. I'm going to center the text. Let me change this text to this smile emoji. I want to make the size bigger. So let's try maybe 72. No, there's 20. Okay, I think the size okay. And let's call it component smile, right? So when I do this, automatically, if I go back to the screens and try to add a new control, I can find a custom control and see that now I have the component we've just created here. So let's have a blank screen. And now I can start to leverage this component I've just created. So let's try using it right here. Okay. So you might be asking yourself, well, why don't you do this right in the screen? Why did you build a component to do that? Well, the advantage of having the component is that you can reuse it. So let's say you are going to have another screen and I want to reuse the same component. I can just come here and add again the same component we've just created, okay? And let's say something is going to change here. So if I go back to the component and change the background color to, let's say, gray, this is going to be automatically reflected on all of the components used in the app. So as you can see, the first one is gray, the second one is gray. So you just change in one place and all over the app is going to reflect the changes. So that's the power of reusing, build once and reuse forever, okay? You are not going to waste time changing screen by screen, okay? Right, so now let's start exploring what we have here, what resources we have in the components that can help us in this journey of building the controls. As you can see in the right side pane, we have the custom properties. So more than just, dropping objects in the screen, you can also have properties binded to this control. So let's create one property here, and I'm going to call it background color, right? So I want to have a property for this control called background color, and this is an input that I want to leverage later, and it's going to be of the type color, okay? And I'm going to create. So what it just did, we created a property for this component. So if we go right here, I can see that I have now a property called background color. And later this property can be defined by you when you are going to use the component in the screen. Right now is nothing's gonna happen, but we can see that we have a custom property called background color. Okay, I can change it, but nothing's gonna happen because we didn't wire up to anything. So let's leverage this background color to define the background color of the component. So here in the fill property of the component, I'm going to reference the property we just created, component smile, sorry, component smile dot background color, okay? So the component is reflecting now the custom property that we've just created. Let's go back to the screen and see if this is true. So in the background color property, I want to change from blue to orange, for instance, or to green, and so on and so forth. So this means that I can use this customization for each of the screens. So for instance, for this screen, I want to have a green background, but for the other one, I want to have a blue background, okay? So more than, repeating a static control for all of the screens, we can also have the properties. And the properties are not just colors. We can have several different properties right here. If you go for create a new one, we can see that we can have text, number, Boolean values, date, screen records table, image, and so on and so forth. So there's plenty of things that you can create as a custom property, okay? And not only you can have these properties as inputs, as you can have these properties as outputs. So if you want to perform anything inside of the company, inside of the component and give an output, you can do that also. We're going to see that later, right? And we have another type, which is the behavior, okay, that is going to perform a set of actions right inside of the component. Okay. So this is a very basic component, just to illustrate the concept, what it is, and what is the resources that we have in here. And now let's try something a bit more realistic, something that we would use in a business scenario. So I have this header right here. So this is very common. When we are building apps, we are going to have headers that are going to repeat for all of the screens. So why don't we have a header component instead of recreating the header for each screen? Okay. As you can see, we have one created already. So I can add the header here. I can change the background color of the header. I can change the text of the header. This is the header. And so on and so forth. So let's see how we can build a header like this one. Let's go back to the components and let's create a new one. Okay, the first thing that we need to define here is the size of the component. As you can see, we are no longer working with the size that is something like a square. Um a header component will look more like a rectangle. So let's define the measure here. For the width, let's have 1366, and for the height, let's have 70. Okay, now that looks more as a header now. And now we just need to start adding the native objects to compose the header. So the first object that I'm going to have here is, guess what? A container. So if you were here in the last lesson, we talked a lot about containers. And I'm going to make the width of this container the same width of the parent. Okay, the parent is the component itself. So this way is going to fill all the space here. And I'm going to do the same with the height. I'm going to call it parent. Parent is the component, and I'm going to get the height property. Okay, so it's filling all of the space. Now in the header, I want to have a label that's going to tell us what is the name of the header, or whatever information we want to display. So here's our label, and I want to stretch this label so it's going to fill all the space, the vertical space available, and I want to make the flexible width on. So also is filling all the space available. Let's make the padding bigger. So for the left, I want, instead of 5, I want to use 20. For the right also. Let's make the font weight bold. And the size a little bit bigger. Let's use 18 for the font size. Okay, we have the label done. The next step, let's have the user image. As you can see, let's get the Power Apps itself header as an example. We have a header here with a label with the name of the application. In the right side, we have the image of the user, maybe some icons as well. Okay, so let's insert an image. Should be the image of the user. Let's make the image smaller. So instead of 100, let's use 50 for the width and for the height also. Let's align this to the center. Let's use padding for the container. So as you can see, the image is very close to the border. So the way to fix that is to have a padding right here on the right. It's better. And also let's change the border radius. So to make this perfect round, I want to use the border radius with the same value of the width and the height, which is 50. In here, in the image, let's use user.image. Okay. Now we have the image of the user and the text. And let's say we want to have an icon as well. So let's try the settings icon. Let's make it smaller by adding some padding here. Maybe a bit more, 15. Okay. Let's move it to left. Align this to the center. And okay, it's already looking like a header. So now if I go back to the screens of the app, I can already start to use that header. So in the custom, I can see that I have a component called component2, which is the header we just created. But let's call it another name. Let's say my header. Going back to the screen. Okay, there it is. And now we have it's made, but is static yet. So we are going to use some of these things right here with different properties on its screen. I don't want to display text. I want to display, I don't know, the name of the screen or the name of the feature we are working with. So let's create a custom property for this text. And again, we come here on the right-hand side, new custom property. Let's call it header text. Is an input type. The data type is text. And then we create. Okay. And we can create also a background color property as we did before. The data type is color and it's created. Okay, now let's reference these properties in the controls itself. So instead of having text here, I want to have my header dot header text, which is the property we just created. So we can, by default, call it type the header name here. Okay. And let's do the same for the background color. So in the field property of the container, I'm going to reference my header dot background color. And again, by default, we can choose a background color, choose something different so we can see it better. Let's make this even lighter. Okay. Now, if we go back to the screen, we can see that we have the header text property and the background color property. Okay, so I can change it. And I can also change the background color. Okay, so yeah, we just created a fully functional component that we can reuse all over the app. And not only in this app, we can now export this to use in other apps as well. So let's see how to do that. So here in the components, let's see if I can delete some of the guys here. Okay, so here next to new component, we have the three dots, and we can either import or export components. So let's try exporting this component. and it's going to generate a file to us. Let's download it. Okay, so it's going to be something like this, the name of the app dot .msapp file. So let's try to use it in another app, for instance. Let me open a brand new app for that. Right, so I can go to the components tab and import the components we've just exported. We can upload the file and use that file. And as you can see here, it's showing me several of the apps that I have in this environment, which contain also components. So I can either upload the file or I can get it from another app. Okay, so in this case, let me just upload the file. Someone has any questions, don't mind interrupt me. Right, so as you can see, we just imported the two components we just created, and we can start to using in this new app. So in the custom section, I see that I have the header. Right, so instead of creating all over again, I can just come here and start using this header I've just created and using the custom properties to adapt to the new app purpose, right? Okay, so this is how to create the components, how to export, how to import. And now let's see a little bit about libraries in the environment. So if we go to make.powerapps.com and we select apps, we can see that we have component libraries here. Okay, and let's create a new one to understand how it works. Let's call it my new component library. And as you can see, the experience here is exactly the same of the Power Apps Studio. There's nothing really different here. And we can start creating our components here. The advantage of making it into a component library is that you can make it available to everyone in that environment, and you can share that with your colleagues easily. And just as we imported that components to a new app, we can also import those to this component library. So again, let's import it. Okay, let's delete this component one. And now in this library, we have these two components that I can save and publish. And let's say I want to share this library with my colleagues. The process is the same of sharing a normal, a regular Canvas app. You just come to share and give access to your colleagues as you would normally do with any app. Okay. So again, let's see now how to use this library of components. Once we've created, they are there. And let's say uh, all all my team will be using that library. Let's see how. Right, so in this blank app, if I come here and insert I have this get more components option. And as you can see, I have here the libraries, right? And as I expand this control, I can see what components are inside the library. So in this environment, I have uh, these two libraries. So the one we created is not appearing. I guess it takes some time to show, but let's use some that is already here. So if I wanted to use this header of this other library, I can just import it to my environment, to my app. And immediately we can see that we have now this library component section, and I can start to use the components in my application. Okay. So again, very basic component. We can change the color. We can change the header name. And there's something that we can't do here yet. We can edit this component because we are getting it from a library. So this means that I can create uh, components to my environment and make uh, the developers to use those components and don't allow them to perform changes. And also I can make updates in my library, and my colleagues are going to receive these updates in the components, right? So if I go here to components, I won't see the component I've just imported because this is coming from a library, and the person responsible for that component is going to give me updates for these components, okay? But what if I wanted to create my own version of that component? I can do that as well. So if I select here the options, I can go to edit components, and I'm going to receive this warning saying that I'm going to have a copy of the components in my application, which means that I'm not going to receive the updates of the component library. So if I create a copy, I can see that now I have a copy of the component here, and I can do my own stuff to this component. Okay. Okay, I think we covered the concepts of Canvas app reusable components and the libraries. And now let's go for a different subject, that is the PCF components. So let me jump to these other apps here. And uh, the experience of using PCF components compared to this Canvas app components are actually very similar. They are going to behave just as objects in Power Apps. So we're going to work with properties, with the same experience that we have for a native object. The difference, though, is how this is going to be developed. For PCF components, we can do this process of coming here in App Studio and use the native objects to create something and share that on a library. No, there's involves a pro developer um, process in which is going to be used um, front end technologies to develop and to deploy the components. Okay, so this is the first thing to be aware. Um, so uh, to start using these PCF components, let's go back to make.powerapps.com. First thing that you need to do in order to use PCF components in Canvas app is the following. You need to make sure that in your admin center, your environment is enabled for using PCF components. So here I can see my environments. And if you are just a maker in your company, you might not have this kind of access. Someone that controls the environment is going to do this. Okay. So let's get the default environment, and let's go in settings. product, features, and uh, generally by default this is turned off. Okay, so that's why I'm showing you. You first need to have this turned on, and only after it you can start using PCF components in Canvas app. Okay, so make sure this is turned on before starting anything. Right. Once you have that done, let's understand how to install the PCF components. Let's understand how to have them in your environment. So let's go back to the default environment. And here in solutions is where the components are going to be installed. Okay, the PCF components are going to be here. And there's two ways that I know that you can have then in your environment. You can import the package, the solution here, containing your components. So one solution can have several components. These first two solutions here, they have each around 12, 13, 14 components each. And you can also get that from the app source. So let me show you. So you can search these solutions here. For instance, let's say I want to have local data solutions. By the way, if you are not here in the last class, this is the company in which I work for, and we create these PCF controls, and we are in app source. That means that you can, get the components by coming here and by clicking in getting now. This is going to be installed in your environment right away. So it's a very simple process to get this in your environment. Okay, if you're not importing the solution. So once you have this imported, I'm not going to do the process again because it takes a while. You are going to have the solutions on your environment as I have here. And from that, you can start to use the components in your app. So let me see if I got an app open here. Okay, so this is one app that I had opened previously. Okay, now that I'm in Canvas App Studio, where I can find the PCF components I've just imported to my environment. Again, I can come to insert, get more components. And as you can see, we have a tab right here called code. So again, this is the difference from the first example that we gave, Canvas components and code components. Code components is what we're about to use now. So let's have a very simple one, the button component. And let's import. Once I import, I can see that this control is available for me right here. So I can see that now I have this button. And let's explore a few of the features of this control. As you can see, this control behaves as any other native object in Power Apps. We have this experience of having the properties on the right side in this pane, and we just need to start to change the properties here to adapt to custom as we want. So let's say I want to have this label start. I have these special properties to define as outline or default. I can change the themes. So let's say I want to change to a different color. I have this possibility here of change the for predefined colors. I can change the font also, text color, border color, background color, just as a native object. Let's get the native button. So for the native button, we also have the properties right here: color, border radius, font size, font weight is all here. And for the PCF, it's just the same. The properties are all here, okay? And it's going to work exactly the same. The only difference is the way you are uh, importing it to and making it available in your app, okay? Right. So let's build a simple example of a screen that has these components. So in the screen right here is what we're going to build. I have this gallery with this nice looking card component that shows me images and some text. I have the button in the top right here, and I have this expandable nav bar on the left, okay? So let's see how to build it. Let's go for the blank screen. Let's delete these buttons. And okay. So step by step, the first thing that we have here is this gallery. We first have a gallery here. So let's insert a gallery, vertical gallery. And let's make it a bit bigger. I want to have in the wrap count 2 items. Let me see if, no, actually 3 items. Okay. And for the data source, if you're going to try this later, I'm making this available in the link that I provided in the chat. Let me show you where it is. If we scroll down this document, you are going to find here the database that you can download and try yourself later, okay? I am going to connect. It's just an Excel file in OneDrive, so very simple. I think might be a good idea to show the table. Just a second. Show the table so you guys can understand what's behind the scenes. So in this data source, we have the 7 wonders. We have the description, we have the image link, we have the location and the wonder name, right? Very simple database. That's what we have going on behind the scenes. And that's what is connected in this gallery right now, okay? Let's make the template bigger. I'm not going to use any of these controls, so let's delete it. Let's delete the separator too. And now in the code components, I want to have my PCF. The PCF I'm going to use here is this card component. Okay. Of course, it's imported already, but normally I would come here, code components, search for the card component, and import it to my app. Okay, so what this card component does? Okay, we can come here to the documentation of this component that we have, and it's basically going to show information, display information. We can show image, we can have icons, we can display text, and create different visualizations for our data. Okay, this is what the component is going to do. So let's go back to the app, the card components here. Let's have it inside of the gallery. Okay. So it's here. And now we just need to work with the properties. Uh, we have, for instance, a property called image URL. In this image URL, we can reference the link, the image link. And voila, effortlessly, we just have cards with the images. And let's see what else we want to have here. We can have a header text. Well, for the header, why don't we have the name of the wonder name? Okay. and it's not showing yet. Not sure why. Maybe it's the color of the control. Let's try putting it in the title. Sorry for that. It's been a long time that I don't use this control. Let's have the wonder name here. So yeah, now it's showing up the name of the wonder. We can have icons. Let me see what we use it for icons. Uh, from icons, uh, this is coming from a library called fontsawesome.com that is broadly adopted for web development. So with these components, we can reference the name of the icons and leverage in our app. So for instance, let's say I want to use this globe icon. Let's go back to the app. And in tag icon, I'm going to type globe, and I need to have a tag text. For the tag text, I'm going to use location. So as you can see, we have the globe icon, the name of the location, and the name of the wonder. And also we can have the description. So let's have this item.description. Okay. So it's taking more space than we want. We can leverage some PowerFX format to adapt it in case it's too much information. Let me do this quick fix so it looks better for now. And our gallery is done. We can also change the color of the tag. So instead of black, I want blue. So now the tag has a different color. Okay. And this is what is interesting about components. I could perform a several I could create this gallery with a nice look and feel without having much effort on it. Let's say I wanted to create this, but without this PCF component, I could, of course, but it would take some effort to create and to organize things in a nice way. Okay. Let's add another component to the screen to finish, and is the navbar. Let's place the navbar on the left. The navbar allow us to create a static data source here and have actions binded to this control. So again, if we use the documentation of this component, we can have the grab a snippet here. I'm going to copy this snippet. I'm gonna go back in the items property. I'm going to paste. Okay. And hopefully it's going to, oh, I think I did something wrong. Let me grab the item from here. Okay, so on the app on start property, I think I'm creating this variable, the global variable to store the navigation. And here I can have the title and the icon and a key for that item. So let's see how this works. Um, I created the items coming from that schema I defined on the app on start. So here I also explain the name of each of the wonders. And we could use this, of course, to display the name of the screens of quick actions or actions related to the features in the app. Right, so I see that we are running out of time, and I think that's all. I will leave a small space for questions. And to conclude, uh, we could create the screen just by using three components, actually two PCF components and one native component. So that's what make the use of PCFs very powerful in Power Apps applications. You can do a lot of things with even less effort. Okay, right. Vitor, I'll let you you guys make questions if there's any.
Yeah, there was one, but I think you replied already on the
Okay,
chat.
okay.
It was a while ago about how to populate images from Canvas app to the model driven app.
Sorry, someone answered this question, or this is a question that.
I think it's still a question.
Okay, okay. Not sure
Uh,
if I got the question. How do I populate images from Canvas app to model-driven
model
app?
driven. I think Mala, you could have an app that collects these images and saves to fields in model driven,
Mhm.
and then
Yeah,
you surface
yeah.
there, if I understood correctly.
So,
But is that the question?
so from the Canvas app, the images will be collected and stored in bulb storage. Yeah. So there is a requirement to show up those stored the images stored in bulb storage should be displayed in model driven app. So is it possible with the custom pages? Is it custom dialogues? Is it?
Oh yeah, yeah. You can have the same experience with a custom page.
Yeah.
So this is coming from external links. So you can just create a custom page with a gallery and display the images as you would do normally here in Canvas app.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. The next one is from Roxanne. She wants to know the cost of local data.
Uh-huh. Right. So it's a subscription in which you have access of our library of components. We have more than 20 components right now. And more than that, you have access to complete solutions. So it's not only about components, we offer also the whole thing, uh, the templates almost done for you to choose your organization. And we start with plans of $25 per month. But for the heroes, we have coupons, of course.
All right. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Thank
good
you.
news. So Leo, so the subscription is to grab the control and design, right? Do people have to still pay for the subscription while they use the app?
Yeah, you can have the subscription and is per app. So that means that you can have access to all of the library of components, publish the app, and have as many users as you want, use as many components as you want, but it's per app the subscription.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else has questions? I got one, Leo. When we have access to the PCF gallery,
Mm-hmm.
where you have a list of PCF components,
Oh yeah.
uh, and maybe I'll throw the link here for folks to look at. Um, is there a particular setup for us to understand which controls can be used versus which cannot be used? I don't know if you've seen. I know that most, if not all, of the PCF and PCF
Mhm.
gallery is bound to model driven. So it's
Yeah.
bound.
So
Mhm.
there's this small identification here that show us if the component was made for Canvas app or for model driven apps. So if you try one right here, we can see that it's for model driven and
Awesome.
for
Awesome. I
canvas.
didn't catch that.
Yeah. So that's how we know. Previously, I think there was a filter to see only model driven or only canvas app, but I don't think we have it anymore. It was very useful.
Okay. That's very good. Well, I don't have any additional questions. Thank you, Leo. This was a loaded session. You could probably go for hours here talking about this concept. So appreciate
Yeah.
you doing that. Guys, you have Leonardo Russo contact. I'm gonna put your LinkedIn here on the chat so people can follow you and then find more information about your other channels. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. There is content in Portuguese. I think you have some stuff that you're putting up on in English as well. But yeah, just connect. Thanks, Leo. Appreciate that. We'll
Thank you,
talk
Victor.
more.
Thank you guys for joining us today. And I'll be here in the next week, but this time as a student with you guys.
Yes, yes.
All
So
right.
next week we have Christine. She's gonna present on more the UI tips and tricks to make your app stand out. So she's doing 2 lessons next week. So we'll see you then. Okay. Have a great weekend, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Bye,
Take care.
guys.
Bye bye.
See you next
Thank
week.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.